Welcome back to the Female Leaders Bar. Here we go for another session. We'll just let everyone get seated, get headsets on. There might be some spare headsets. Are there, Aoife, any spare headsets? We can all split up the space over here as well at the front. There's a few seats over here. We've got another couple of headsets there. There we go. We've got set. Perfect. Make sure we're all cozy. It actually helps us warm up in here as well when we have more people. Some more bums on seats is better. Wonderful. We're going to get started for this session. And I've been delighted throughout the whole of the 3 days to speak to some incredible female voices. And this one is going to be exceptional. So can we put our hands together? A big welcome for Hollie McLellan from Boots.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome, Hollie. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, really good. Just been on a panel around the corner around D&I and inclusion at work, and run over here to do this.
But this is the best stage, so you're in safe hands.
I feel like I am. I feel like you mentioned it's like a warm hug.
A warm
I feel like it's
hug
a very lovely audience, which I appreciate. So thank you.
So this this is the very first Female Leaders Bar we've ever done at MadFest. It's been a huge success, and we're really wanting to hear strong women's stories. So can you tell us a little bit about your own personal story to becoming a leader?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's kind of one of those questions like, where do you start? Gosh, I think it's probably worthwhile starting, where I started my career. So I actually was in investment banking, first of all. So probably not the career you'd imagine starting before going into marketing long term. And then I went into doing a startup, and then I found myself at Boots after that. And I did a bit of time at Tesco and dunnhumby along the way. But I think if I look at my journey, it's probably trying to get into jobs or industries which aren't necessarily always included females. So lots of the jobs that I did, particularly the investment banking one, was incredibly male dominated. And I actually think in a funny kind of way, it actually attracted me to it, because I just felt like, you know what, I can do that. I'm going to prove that that isn't just a male dominated role. Like, I've definitely got the skills and expertise to do that. And lots of things like data, analytics, being really commercial, have served me so well in my career. So that's the kind of flavour I think I bring to the leadership now, is almost like having that grounding in being kind of analytically led. And then I guess if you kind of go back to my start of like, where did I come from? So my mum was a daughter of an Irish immigrant, spent lots of time actually in social housing, and also spent some time homeless in her life when she was younger. So I've come from this family of like a really strong female leaders, and so she's given me a lot of inspiration along the way.
And adversity and
absolutely, and just working hard. Don't let anything stop you from doing what you want to do, because you can absolutely make it.
And do anything. And I'm going to, because it's interesting, Hollie and I were talking before, and we were saying, both of us in a massive agreement that these sessions and our attitudes in general are absolutely not down on men. In fact, we were both saying, weren't we, that it's not about there's a lot of men at the boardroom. We're not saying that's a negative. In fact, good on them. They're there. We're just trying to get there too. So it's actually by going, well, you've done it, and that's fantastic. We're now trying to get there. I didn't know actually before just now that you actually worked in investment banking, and I interviewed Rachel Carone from Starling on Tuesday, and we were talking about if there's ever barriers or it's a tough place to work as a woman, investment banking is it. How was it for you?
Absolutely. I think the culture wasn't set up for the kind of strengths that a woman has. So I would say things like listening, empathy, being inclusive and collaborative in that environment aren't the skills that are promoted and are, the ones that people look for. It's things like competitiveness, being a lead, which are all good skills as well, by the way. That's not a negative. And that's probably why I moved away from the industry, actually, because it just didn't suit my strengths. So it was a tough environment to work in, I'm not going to lie. It was long hours, it was working hard. But I think it's about sort of working out what's the right culture for me, and actually what would serve me as a leader. And I think going into marketing, I think you've got such great opportunity to do that. Collaboration, creativity, empathy, all really important skill sets for marketing. And I actually think women being a little bit biased, sometimes over-indexing those skills. And that's why we're perfect almost, I think, for this industry.
There are a lot of women in PR and marketing. Obviously, I run a PR agency and we're 70% women, and it's not by design, it's just they're the right people, but it seems it's about the right people being suited. I have heard as well, I've heard really good things about Boots in their attitude, in their values. Was that what attracted you, as well as the role, as well as it being about marketing?
Yeah, definitely. Boots is definitely a purpose-led business. So it was founded by the Boots family because healthcare in the UK was not available to everyone. So we wanted to make it accessible for absolutely anyone, depending on what budget you had. And that DNA has really come with the business. So everything that we're doing now is about giving healthcare or beauty or just making people feel good at Boots. In all that we do, whether it's the marketing or whether it's internally. So it's a fabulous company to work for. I feel very privileged, actually, because it's been here for such a long time, to be able to sort of bring that brand into the next generation and be a part of it.
I think, and you can hear it in your voice, actually. I think that's important. People should love where they work. They should love what they do. One of the questions I have, I'm going to ask the audience here. I want to find out if people are just starting out in their careers, if anybody's 1 or 2 years in. Okay, so we've got some people here who are just starting out. Hollie, do you think it's harder or easier now to be breaking out into a career, and for women, but just generally, I suppose, getting into a career?
Yeah, I think I would actually say that I've benefited from previous generations having broken boundaries. So I would feel like actually probably it is a little bit easier today because people recognise the challenges or the fact that women aren't equal on boards, for example. So we are aware. I think just sort of generally starting your career right now, I actually think it's quite hard. So when I started my career, we were in the office 5 days a week. I was learning from other people. I was making friends with everyone I worked with, and I built my little community around me. And I worry now that you don't get that as much, and you don't get that as much sort of on the job learning, and you don't get that network. So it's almost like the tables have sort of changed. There's different reasons, I think, that we have to now tackle, which is making sure that if people are working from home, that they're seen and they don't get sort of lost as well. I think that's so important.
I mean, I'm a massive ambassador for remote working. Digital Voice is 100% remote. All 32 people work remotely, and we all talk about it, and the team is like a family, like a community. But that's because we work hard at making it work. I totally agree. I think often when it doesn't work is when it's half and half. When it's not, it's failing at both. So I think it's important that companies, like with anything, you have to change and alter and review and test and learn all the way through. Is Boots being quite open to that kind of thing? Is that, what's the attitude towards, let's look at hybrid working, or let's look at the different elements?
Well, we have a very large proportion of our workforce are female, and actually flexible working is one thing that people always ask for. And so for Boots, we're absolutely keen on giving people that flexibility. So we have said to people, be in the office 2 to 3 days a week. But as you say, I think making the effort for in those days that you're there, having meetings that require that in-person interaction. And I think also it's just about making sure that people are being vocal as much as anything else about the work that they're doing. So I think you almost have to work even harder now to be your own personal brand specialist, be your own PR, and don't be embarrassed about it. Honestly, it's so important. It's probably one of the things in my career that's just been the thing that's actually sort of accelerated me more, is having a good network and letting them know what I'm doing. And you're not showing off, you're just being honest.
It's so interesting you say that. So Hannah Dempsey from Jellyfish was just up and going, you've got to say about your achievements. You've got to shout out about yourself. Be your own PR. We will take that as a nugget of brilliance away today, because it is important. It is important because I think when we're talking about, there are more men at the boardroom, even at Boots, which is predominantly women. Yeah. So in order to get more women there, is it saying that women just need to shout a little louder, work a bit harder, be more visible, or what is it that's going to level up?
I think there's a few different things. So I think having more people there creates role models that other people can see and believe that they can then also do that job. So I think that will take time, but that transition is happening. I think there's also then the belief in yourself that you can do it. I think I heard you just ask previously, everyone put your hand up if you want to be on a board. And there was a few people that sort of slowly put their hands up. But
Nathan
you
put the hands
should,
up really
yeah.
high.
Like if you want to be a CEO, you want to be a CEO, right? That's
Yeah,
great.
own it.
And I think, and not to sort of say a men versus women thing, but I think sometimes men feel a bit more comfortable and confident to say that, and that's great. We just need to make sure we do it too. I think to the other aspect of getting more women on boards is probably like a more of an industry sector-wide thing, which is childcare is incredibly expensive. And I think sometimes this is holding us back as a structure, as a sort of country almost, in enabling more people, whether it's men or if it's, you know, women, to be able to work alongside caring. So whether that's for children or if that's for other people as well. So I think we probably need to sort of solve both. It's solve it for yourself, you know, be your own sort of, you know, believer, back yourself, have more role models there. But then also we have to sort of fix this childcare issue, which is just so challenging.
I think, do you know, it's interesting. I was talking to Louise Watson about CAN for next year and talking about the Women in Programmatic Network, Bloom, Digital Leading Ladies and WACL all came together this year. Next year we were saying maybe we have a creche at some of the events in CAN because a lot of people seem to be travelling with their kids. And it's these tiny little steps in the right direction. And it is understanding and making it easier.
Definitely.
Just simply easier, because you don't want to lose talent based on factors beyond that.
And I think also we need to get used to seeing men being carers as well.
Definitely.
And, you know, we need to have our CEOs talking about how they do childcare and how they split their childcare with their family at home, you know, and I think then that creates a role model for other men to be able to do the same thing. You know,
so maybe I was going to ask you this actually, Hollie, sorry to interrupt, but what are the little things that companies could do then to make changes? I mean, for me, I'll give you an example. I would like to see when women have to leave at 3 or 4 to do the school run, that people don't go, oh, half day, that would be lovely, and things like that. Give me yours. What little things could we do within the environments we work to make those changes?
Yeah, I think one of the big things that we've done at Boots is prioritising women's health. So menopause for us has been a huge, I guess, issue that we've got behind as a business, because actually what we were finding is that some women were taking themselves out of the workforce because they weren't able to deal with the symptoms, and they were finding it was just this incredibly challenging time for them. So things like providing support, financial support for hormone replacement therapy, giving training and guidance to people who are working with people that have got going through the menopause, and then also just like creating networks within Boots that people can connect around and actually talk to one another, because it's such a lonely time. Like, you're going through a moment in your life when your body's changing, all the things that you used to do with your makeup no longer work, you know. It's just, I think it's really helpful just to talk about these things. So there's so much you could do, but I think if there was one thing that I think is underserved, it's probably women's health in the workplace, and I think menopause is one that we could really tackle.
I think even having these forums to just talk about it, be open the conversation, we're getting there. We're making tiny steps. I've only got a few minutes left, and I have to touch on something which is slightly off curve, because retail has now been sort of really eclipsed by retail media networks. It's a huge space, huge area of growth. I know we've got Melissa coming up from Nectar 360 in a minute to talk about it. So it made me think, from Boots' perspective, you're here at this event. You're obviously at the forefront of retail media as well. What are the big changes that's coming for you?
Interesting. So I think retail media has been here for a while, hasn't it? Really?
No,
but it's just sort of in the last few years.
A new shiny toy.
In the last few years, I guess it's just, I think as more retailers have got involved, it's become a bigger channel for brands to invest in, which is why I think it's growing so fast now. I think the difference in thinking around retail media is moving from seeing it as placements, so areas of retail that you can buy a placement or a slot, to thinking about it as a customer. So you're buying a relationship with a customer, whether that's they're in social media, whether that's they're shopping in Boots, but your media spend is about converting them into your brand and understanding, actually, did they convert? Did that media work or did it not? And I think that's the real big shift next. It's going much more data-led and less about what can I buy some placements, essentially.
Well, that's fascinating. We look forward to them being back in 12 months' time. So let me ask the final question. You're back here in 12 months' time. What do you think we're going to need to have done? How are we moving the needle on encouraging women to just leap, lead, and drive from the front? What's going to move that needle in the next 12 months?
I think it is allies, actually. So if we look at the men on the boards that we talk about, and we're both on the same page of saying, you know, they're not the enemy at all. But I think there is a job maybe to do there around being open to engaging with women. Because I think when I reflected on this, I look at my mentors and a lot of them are actually women. And I kind of go, you know, that's not right, actually. I should have a completely diverse set of mentors, and that should include men. And I was thinking to myself, well, why is that? And I think it's because I actually sometimes hold myself back from asking to be mentored by a man. And I think there probably needs to be a bit of to and fro there. So I probably need to be aware of that, push for it a bit more. But then likewise, they need to be open to offering it and asking to mentor more women. So that would be a big
that's
thing.
A really big ask then. We'll make sure that that happens. And I think that is an interesting one. It's asking, we can all learn from each other. And that's going to only make us stronger together as well.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Hollie McLellan from Boots, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Incredible.
Thank you.
We will be back here with Katie Street is interviewing the amazing Paula Bloom from EA Games. So either sit tight and join the session in about 10 minutes, and then we'll be up with Melissa Desmond from Nectar 360. Thank you all.